as Emancipation Day, I want to say thank you to our ancestors. Thank you to the late Mr. Emilio Wilson, who has allowed us this opportunity to be here on this sacred land. I want to say thank you to the late Mr. Husserl Sr., and in 1959 was the first person on the island to have a newspaper, Windward Island Opinion, which he thought and saw it fit for the people of St. Martin to educate themselves through reading, because we know that reading is very powerful. Knowledge is very powerful if we choose to use it in the right way. So I say this because I want to say to the young people here on the park to always want to study, to elevate yourself, to enhance your life, to enhance the life that you have now for the future. I want to also say that because there were people before us, our elders, when we remember when my aunt who lived in the country would get a visit from her cousin who lived in town, and when she comes to the countryside, she will go back to town with food. So there was no need to search and look for food. We took care of each other. It is so important to understand the values, the morals, the culture, and the history of this sweet St. Martin land. Our people have been and always will be strong individuals, a strong people with a mind of their own, to think for themselves, to know what they want, and to pass this on to the next generation through the knowledge and the history that we have here in St. Martin. We don't have to look nowhere for our own history. It starts right here at the Emilio Wilson Park. So I want the youngsters here in the park today to understand that the elders are very important. They are sacred, and they have a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom. And they are like a sponge, but they are waiting for that sponge to be squeezed, to share that knowledge, to share the information, to document this information that they have. So people of St. Martin, on a day like today, think where we want to go with our Emancipation Day. Today marked 5 years, 5 proud, good years. And we are looking forward to 5 more greater years. As you know, we come from greatness. We are greatness. Remember who you are. For you and I were born and destined to do great things. And that makes us great. Because when we look at our elders, they may not have had the education that you and I have, but their heart was in the right place. They knew what to do. They knew how to take care of us with what they had.
Good afternoon to all, and a happy Emancipation Day 2016. We have only been celebrating for 5 years, but we have been free for much, much longer. And today, I want to share something with you that I learned when I was a young adult at college. And it's the words of the Black National Anthem. How many of you have heard it? A show of hands. A few of you. Good. Well, as a young person going to school in the United States Virgin Islands, a very conscious little island, though I knew a little bit about our history and culture here on St. Martin, I grew to appreciate it more with the Caribbean heritage lessons that I learned there and this very song. The words were written as a poem by Mr. James Eldon Johnson, who was born in 1871. So 1871, after emancipation. And it goes like this. His brother later turned it into a song. And I'm not much of a singer anymore, so I'll just read the lyrics for you. Lift every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise, high as the listening skies. Let it resound, loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. I still feel to sing, sorry. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. I'm not going to attempt to sing all. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died. Yet with a steady beat, have not our weary feet come to the place for which our fathers died? How many of us stop to think about these things? The theme of today's celebration is Remember When. And I'm not saying we need to go back and hold on to those memories and remain bitter and angry, but we need to remember so that we can move on strong. And the song continues, we have come over a way that with tears have been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out from the gloomy past, till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path, we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee, lest our hearts drunk with the wine of the world we forget thee. Shadowed beneath thy hand, may we forever stand, true to our God, true to our native land. And while this song was written in the United States, I think it is touching and feeling and moving for any descendant of enslaved people. And so I implore you to look it up. Google is your friend. The Black National Anthem, and you will hear it. You can read these words. They can be a source of inspiration to you, as it has been for me for many, many years. Whenever I hear this song, I am reminded of the battle that was fought for freedom. Today, on July 1st, 2016, as we celebrate Emancipation Day, right here, only for the 5th time on St. Martin, I call on all people, regardless to your ancestry, regardless to who came before you, to recognize the atrocities of the past, of how a people were enslaved and fought to be free, of a people who declared themselves free, and today can say we have achieved what our ancestors have only dreamed, prayed, and fought for. The Diamond 26 that we know about, and who we commemorated last night by running for freedom from the south to the north. We got a taste of it, those who participated, and I know for a fact that many will never ever forget that experience. Countless others toiled and sweat with blood and tears for unpaid wages, but in the end, were able to claim this land. In the end, were able to claim this very land that we are standing on. We have a history of hard workers who pull themselves up despite the injustices meted out against them, a legacy of determination, of strength of body, soul, and mind to envision a life of freedom for all. Because to be free from the shackles that bound them physically was one thing, but to be free in mind is another. And for some of us, it is still a work in progress. Freedom today for all of us should mean choices, decisions, and determining your own path. For John St. Martin, seek your rightful place. We each have a role to play in this. What is yours? What is mine? One thing I know about our ancestors, if we go back to when, they didn't wait on anything. So let's not wait. Let's grab the bull by the horns, the horse's reins, and let's gallop to that freedom that we need to feel within. Freedom is yours. Use it wisely. Freedom is ours. Be an example of what freedom is. And I can only echo what Inko Sosana said about in what we say, what we do, and how we act. I hear people say, I love St. Martin. And I'm driving behind them and I see them throw garbage out their windows. Is that an action of a loving St. Martiner? Of a good St. Martiner? Today, as we strive for the freedoms that have been fought for, that we have by law, but do not always exercise. Sometimes we are bound by a lack of education, by circumstances. But I am telling you today that there is always hope. Education is not only for the young. Each and every person has a right and has that choice to educate themselves today. Seek the opportunities that you want and make the most of them. Happy Emancipation Day 216, and may that spirit of freedom live on 365 days of every year. Thank you.
The President of Voices, distinguished guests, fellow St. Martiners, as we gather here once again on these hallowed grounds of the Emilia Wilson Park, with a flamboyant tree or July tree in full bloom, we should remember when this place was a plantation, where according to some accounts, one Tete Loke, that female freedom fighter of immortal memory, came ransacking for food to feed some of our enslaved ancestors she had helped escape into freedom. We all know the price she had to pay for her courage and for her bravery. They cut off one of her breasts to deter others from following in her footsteps. She may not have saved as many enslaved ancestors as Harriet Tubman did with the Underground Railroad. However, I'm sure, like Tubman, she could have saved many more had they realized that they were enslaved. Therefore, to those who feel uncomfortable talking about slavery, claiming it is something of the past, and therefore we should not dredge it up, but leave the past alone, to those we say, Massa, days are done. And yet, they complain that St. Martiners are second-class citizens in their own land. And to them I say, remember the words of Marcus Garvey. A people without the knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. That rootedness is essential for our continued existence and survival as a people, because to remember implies reintegration into a community of shared memories that constitute the living history of its people. It is a renewal of our membership of that community, or in fact, a piecing together of that community in what we may consider today an enterprise in nation building. But how do we build that nation if we fail to remember when our forefathers had faced more daunting challenges and found their own solutions that served them well, whether it was in the way they built their homes to withstand the forces of nature, or pull their resources together in jollifications in the construction of those same homes. Ladies and gentlemen, I do not intend to take you on a walk through memory lane. Emancipation Day is not about nostalgia. We are not celebrating a proclamation issued grudgingly, full of condescending remarks that was meant to mark the official end of slavery. What we are actually celebrating is the indomitable spirit of our ancestors who knew that freedom is not a royal gift, but the inalienable right of every man and woman put on the face of this earth. It is that uncompromising spirit of our forefathers who knew that not to fight for freedom is to acquiesce in our own enslavement that we are here to honor today. They knew, as did Abraham Lincoln, who said that those who deny freedom to others deserve it not for themselves. It makes me wonder, therefore, what it would take to issue an official apology for slavery, which the whole world agrees is among the most hideous crimes committed against humanity by those who would today want to teach us moral lessons about integrity. Or is it that they believe it is not worth apologizing for? I wonder. Then I remember that on occasions like this, we would often sing Bob Marley's Redemption song, stressing the immortal words of Garvey: emancipate yourself from mental slavery. Exactly. None of them, none but ourselves, can free our minds. Do you remember when? Do you remember when that used to be our Emancipation Day anthem? One thing for sure, and I will end with this: we should never allow ourselves to forget that the Emancipation Project is yet to be fully realized, and indeed will not be completed until we emancipate ourselves from the mental slavery and embrace the independence as the only way forward if we are to establish a just society in which all of us can thrive and in which all our children and all our grandchildren can take their rightful place as heirs of hard-working, self-reliant, proud St. Martiners who built this land, who built this island with their blood, sweat, and tears. Congratulations to the organizers. Congratulations to the people of St. Martin. Happy Emancipation Day. God bless you, and God bless our beloved land, St. Martin.
With that greeting, in addition to the dignitaries here this afternoon, I include all of you for the simple reason that that dignity is shown by your presence here this afternoon. There are many things that you could have thought of to do on a day like today. A holiday, cool, not too hot, yet you chose to be here in the Emilio Wilson Park and join the government and the organization of voices in observing Emancipation Day in a fashion such as this. Those of you familiar with Facebook, and I guess you all are, know that its generic way of involving persons is to ask the question that you see daily in front of you as you open Facebook: what's on your mind? If I ask myself that question,
in this location, on this day, I have concluded already during the course of the day that what St. Martin needs is an infusion of the emancipation spirit that we are celebrating today. In fact, as I used the word infusion, I thought that transfusion would be even a better description, because the spirit of emancipation, not necessarily, or maybe less even for you who are here, but the rest of the community of St. Martin need to not only remember, but exercise the spirit of emancipation. And mind you, that spirit is not about the day of emancipation, but the reason that made the Emancipation Declaration possible. And that is the struggle. That is the resilience. That was not an attitude of being the victim, but rather the attitude of being the victors. That is what led to Emancipation Declaration and freedom at last. It was not the spirit of apologies, but rather the spirit of overcoming and being proud and standing up for what they believed and fought for so many days. So yes, what's on my mind? That St. Martin needs a transfusion of the emancipation spirit that made the liberty for our forefathers possible. Years after fights and struggles, they were able to obtain that freedom.
Remember emancipation: when, where, and why. In answering the 3 W's, I can be short. When? July 1st, 1863, and now. Where? At Diamond Estate and throughout our land. And why? For their and our freedom. But that does not do justice to the significance of Emancipation Day. My fellow St. Martiners, in remembering when, I stated in my 2012 Emancipation Day address that today is one of the most important days in our history, because the July 1st, 1863 Emancipation Day marked the triumph of the indomitable will of the enslaved men and women of St. Martin to be free. Free from the brutal system of slavery based on the difference in the color of their skin. It is therefore my hope that every Emancipation Day will be celebrated as the day when the people of St. Martin officially became one people, because it marked the triumph of humanity on St. Martin, a triumph of humanity which must be cherished and preserved by all with the same vigor and unrelenting courage as our forefathers. A triumph of humanity and of emancipation of all St. Martiners, because in the words of Martin Luther King Jr., and I quote, "Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly," unquote. My fellow St. Martiners, in remembering where, we are to be cognizant that the world we live in today is very different from the world of 1863. Born in the 20th and 21st centuries, our generation of St. Martiners are far removed from the world in which our forefathers, our emancipators, lived. Our knowledge of their life and appreciation of their struggles and triumph for a more just society, however, should and may never be lacking thanks to their oral, written, and reenacted history passed down from generation to generation. In fact, given the prevalence of social injustices today, I believe that it is important that we must continue as a community to invest in the further deepening and broadening of the knowledge of the significance of Emancipation Day. This by honoring activities such as the Diamond Hill Estate Slave Run reenactment. And what better way to ensure that we always remember where than by building a monument at the Diamond Estate site, an Emancipation Monument as a beacon of freedom. An Emancipation Monument as a beacon of freedom. For only through a deeper knowledge and recognition of our emancipation history and of the societal importance of Emancipation Day will more people of all colors appreciate and celebrate this triumph of humanity. Thus, as we remember and celebrate the triumph of emancipation, we must always remember that our generation of St. Martiners are the heirs of the benefits of that first Emancipation Day. To emphasize that, I have decided to share the following words of a song, or should I say poem, which but I'm not going to sing, which you titled, Because They Prevailed. But I wrote this myself. Ours used to be a divided community, part enslaved and part free, forced to endure hardship and hurt. Our emancipators stood up for their word. They opposed barriers placed all around, sacrificed everything to tear them down, and doing so created a pathway to freedom lit by a beacon on Diamond Hill for generations to come. Today, we are here as one community because they prevail for us to be free, to move forward, remembering, building on their legacy, each of us free, being the best we can be.